Why are you convinced the Syrian government is behind this apparent gas attack and not necessarily a defector who may know how to use or have access to these chemical weapons?
Fred, when you look at this and when you work yourself past the horror of those pictures, what you see is multiple rocket attacks on several very distinct and different areas, and in at least one, the one that killed the largest number of children, an amount of sarin, probably in excess of 50 liters in a single warhead. Terrorists don't have access to that sort of technology. The pictures that have been collected of the actual warhead fragments itself show a very clever answer to a difficult technical problem. That is, how do you blow up a warhead containing sarin without, by the heat of the explosive charge, destroy the sarin itself? Sarin does not like heat. There was an external explosive device apparently attached to the warhead that did the bursting charge. This has the hallmarks of a government. Now, it does not speak to whether it was Assad himself who personally pushed the button, but it makes it quite clear it wasn't a single defector acting alone. This was an organized military unit that, first of all, prepared the warheads and then fired them over multiple locations with, unfortunately, horrific effects.
So the U.S. must convince the American public that there's more to this video, David. Do you think the UN report out in possibly a week, as I remember you telling me yesterday, that's about how long it might take, will show surveillance or data supporting who is definitively responsible?
Well, definitive is an awfully hard test. I hope that the results of the analysis will speak to the issue of the quality of the sarin and whether it is something that could be prepared by a small group of terrorists, or does it look exactly as a binary chemical that a government and a military only would have access to with the hallmarks of the preservatives? I mean, that's technically possible, and I hope the inspectors have driven the analysis that far and can speak to that issue. I also think the U.S. government has made a serious mistake in cloaking its announcement of the other data it has. We have pictures, we have listened to communications, without actually revealing them. Look, this is a time, if you want to convince the largest number of people possible that this was directly the Syrian government and military doing this, you lay all your cards open on the table. You open the Camino and let everyone see what is there.
Might the intelligence community feel like there is some danger to releasing all the classified information publicly, such as what you just laid out? Is that why perhaps they might keep that material close and not reveal it publicly?
Look, I understand from past associations, the intelligence community wants to collect everything and reveal nothing. This is a political decision. It's not made by the intelligence community. The more serious risk is that Syria gets off scot-free with only the U.S. being willing to take agents. You need to make this case publicly and convincingly. And quite frankly, I would urge what normally happened, what happened to me when I came back with reports like this. The Security Council invited me to speak in closed session to the council before it went public. And it's amazing. I remember in one case, after being held hostage in a parking lot, the two states who spoke first and strongest about our performance were Cuba and Yemen. Not exactly friends in those days of the United States. I also think we ought to be sure that the evidence and the people who speak about this include the French, and they speak directly to the Iranians. One should not forget, Iran had chemical weapons used against it from 1981 to 1988 by the Iraqis, and everyone remained silent. France suffered most from the last time chemical weapons were used in warfare. In fact, there are large areas around Verdun that are still off limits to people because of unexploded chemical ordnance from the First World War. So there ought to be a psychological campaign to be sure that the Iranians and the Russians have this data rubbed in their face.
So how worrisome is it to you that countries like France and even Saudi Arabia and other nations that represent the Arab League are saying they support the U.S. military action, but they're not necessarily committing any arsenal themselves?
Well, I think that is worrisome, and in fact, I think that is the administration's most serious problem. They've got one opportunity, and that is if when the inspection report comes back, to make the case and try to build an international coalition willing not only to condemn but to join action against the Syrians.